Hey guys, Paul here. So, in case you've been living under a rock, the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG ban list just got updated. How very exciting. So today we're going to be taking a look at it and glean some thoughts, share some insights, make some predictions, and probably complain a little bit. So, as you guys can see, it's going to be effective from October 3rd, and the next update after this will be in a few months. So Konami's kind of just back on their bullshit with that. But anyway, yeah, they posted on social media. So to get it all out of the way really quickly, the forbidden cards are Fairy Tail Snow, Ronin Toad, and Christian Halka Fibrax, Chaos Roller, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, and Red Reboot. Our limited cards are Blackwing Steam the Cloak, Cyberjar, Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion, Substitute, Spellbook of Judgment, and Appointer of the Red Lotus. And then finally, we have some cards that are unlimited now. Nothing went to 2. Dynamite Knight, the True Draco Fighter, Cyber Angel Benton, Shooting Riser Dragon, Fusion Destiny, Nadir Servant, Trickstar, Light Stage, and Wall of Revealing Light. So I've pulled up Master Duel Meta as a way to quickly sift through these cards and show their effects on screen, because everybody likes that, no? Alright, so, we're going to take it from the ban cards and go down, and then we'll share some general thoughts on this, things that, we think, all that stuff. I'd love to hear from you guys. Okay, so, Fairy Tail Snow. This is one that I know a lot of people complained about. It just works really well for pile decks. You can banish anything. It doesn't have a hard one's return. It's another disruption that you can layer on top of the many disruptions that pile decks are oftentimes able to throw out in this game. I thought this card probably could have stayed at 1, but I'm also not as familiar with the current competitive scene as, like, maybe some of you guys are. So if it feels like this was a rightful ban, then I'm with it. That's totally cool with me. I'm not going to complain about this card going or whatever, because I didn't play it myself. Ronin Totem is a really big one. So there was a big question about how they would hit Sprite, whether or not they would, like, say ban Totally Awesome, or maybe this is the route that they chose to go, banning Ronin Totem, which does allow for Substoad to come back. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so Ronin Totem's banned. That means that you are no longer able to easily generate free level 2 Aqua monsters to make your Totally Awesome with. I don't mind this hit. It's an indirect hit to Sprite. I know Sprite's news. There's no way they were going to really hit it directly. So this is next best thing. And I think it's a pretty good hit, honestly. I mean, I think this does curb the power of the Sprite deck a fair bit. Christian Halka Fibrax is probably the largest hit on this whole list. This is a card that feels pretty long overdue for a ban. I've wanted it gone for a while now. It's just another one of these, like, link monsters that summons things from the deck and enables way too many combos, in my opinion. And it's also gotten a lot of tuner monsters hit on the ban list in its wake. So now that it's gone, they get to start coming back. Good on them for getting rid of this. This is a huge hit to a pile deck, and I know there are players who are probably really upset because this does hit, like, your lower tier strategies, but I think it's probably just for the best. That's how it is. Sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles, and I'm happy to see the back of this card personally. Okay, next is Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. So, this is a really strong synchro that has been seeing a lot of play this year in particular. It kind of functions like a Painful Choice-esque card because you are milling 5 and, like, grabbing 1, and the rest go to the grave, and we all know light and dark monsters are busted. We know the graveyard's busted. This thing can also come back from the graveyard to be used once again as, like, another synchro material or Xyz material or link material or whatever. So it's how this stuff goes. Cards like this are really strong. I'm glad to see this card go. I didn't have any super strong opinions on it, but I think it's just another hit to kind of the pile decks, the Dragon Link decks. Cool. Okay, a weird one to me is Red Reboot. I'm not entirely sure why this got hit. I mean, I didn't think that people were super upset with this. It's obviously a very sacky card, I guess, if you're like a player who's using Eldritch or another really strong back row based deck. This can really shut those down, and I guess at 1 it felt so sacky that maybe they just figured it's better off ban instead of feeling like a big RNG dice ass pull type of card. I mean, I don't know. I don't have, like, a strong opinion on it. I guess it's just weird that it got hit. It didn't feel like the problem of the day, if you know what I mean. But there is another card that did not get banned or anywhere on this list, and we'll talk about it at the end. I know what you're thinking. Okay, so the limited cards. Blackwing Steam the Cloak and Mecha Phantom Beast Lion. I think I can kind of cover them together. These are tuners that have finally managed to scrape their way out of the prison cell that Halka Vibrax put them in. I'm kind of curious to see if they'll still see play. I mean, Steam is still a very good card because it makes a token when it dies, and it also can summon itself from the grave. and so that can make for a lot of easy link material. Um, like, I don't know, like, you have to still be able to access this card from the deck, so that part might be a little bit tougher now that Hulk is gone, but we'll see. I think this could still see some neat plays, and I still feel like, a lot of pile sort of decks, combo decks, will be looking into ways to use it, but hopefully it doesn't break the game too much. And then Mecha Phantomisto Alliance, kind of in the same boat. It gets a token when it goes, and so, that kind of makes it useful for link summoning, useful for synchro summoning, the works. Cyberjar is the, I guess, like, retro pull on this ban list. It seems like every ban list now, Konami's kind of just been going for, like, bring back a retro card, Change of Heart, Cyberjar now. This card, you guys know, I have been pushing for this thing to get unbanned for a while now. I think it's complete garbage and trash and just will not actually be used. You can have some fun with it in some weird empty jar gimmick deck, and whatever, people can laugh and enjoy that aspect of it. But this thing is going to get hand trapped and popped, and it's slow. And unlike Change of Heart, it's a little less exciting because we all know that this just isn't going to really make a dent. But it's cool to see. I mean, hey, I never thought I'd live in a day where Cyberjar is legal. Substitute is back now that Ronatone is banned. This means there's no FTKs with this card, and that's pretty exciting. I was told earlier that this card got an errata, like the hard ones return. I don't know if it's been printed that way yet. You guys can fill me in. But either way, without Ronin Toading around, this card just is a good frog card and not really much more. And thank goodness it's not level 2. So, whatever. Okay, Spellbook of Judgment. This is a pretty exciting one for me. I've been a really big Spellbook fan for a long time, and I've been saying this card can come back because it feels like it is power crept to hell. The whole theme is just slow and clunky and does not really cut it in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! This is certainly cool, like, for the sort of legacy element, if you want to call it that. I mean, spellbooks are basically 10 years old now, so it is nice to see that, they're finally willing to bring this card back. I know people think, like, oh, well, you can summon, what is it, Jalgan the Spiritualist with this card in the end phase, and that's like a lock, but to run Spellbook of Judgment, you have to run other Spellbook cards too, like to search it out and stuff, and I don't know, I don't know. I just don't think this card or that theme can really, like, hold up today. Now, sure, you can probably combine it with sprites or runics or something, and that could be your form of spellbooks. But I don't know. This is nice. I could see this honestly ending up at like 2 or 3 somewhere down the line. Okay, a Pointer of the Red Lotus is a really weird one. I don't entirely understand it. It's kind of where my question marks continue after Red Reboot on this ban list. Because, so, this card, you pay 2,000 life points, you reveal all the cards in your hand. You look at your opponent's hand, you select a card, you move from play until your opponent's next end phase. This is really good for sniping out hand traps, Nibiru, whatever, things like that. Also, just sniping out starter cards that your opponent might need in order to play. It gives you knowledge. My understanding of this card is that it's much more popular in competitive circles. So, like, regionals, YCS events, not really something your average player really delves into a whole lot. It certainly seems like it's one of those cards that rewards, game knowledge and awareness quite a bit. And I see how it can feel really strong. I guess it's another one of those cards where it didn't really feel like this was, like, the problem, if you guys know what I mean. Like, I just don't know if people were like, I've heard people complain about this, but it's like niche circles. So this is one of those ones where it reminds me that Konami really, it'd be great if they just gave patch notes, like what influenced the decision here, why did they hit this card, why not. So that's it for the limited stuff, and now for the unlimited stuff. Dynamite Knight, not much to say about this. Don't think it's going to make a big impact. I know people don't like True Draco, and I know this card's like a big part of it, but Cyber Angel Binten, this is an exciting one, I think. This helps Drytrons out, and just sort of fairy decks in general. Drytrons still are missing Eva entirely, so I don't think they'll ever really reach the full heights that they once had, but it's still not a bad pick. I don't mind this. Feels like it served its time well enough. Shooting Riser Dragon, I think this is able to go back to 3 because Hulk is banned. This is just another combo card, so, like, it probably will kind of fade into the background again now. Or not, who knows. Fusion Destiny is an interesting one. So, the DPE package or engine or whatever you want to call it, after Vert got banned, it kind of fell off. Now a lot of people have access to DPE, and I think that putting Fusion Destiny back to 3 is a really nice way of allowing players who did not get to enjoy the fun of DPE a way to now do so. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't really know. I mean, I think it'll bring DPE back into the metagame a little bit because it's, like, not as risky to run that whole suite of cards. So I can't really say I'm too upset with this. And Nadir Servant is also another really good one. I was surprised this card ever really went to 2. It didn't feel that OP, but like maybe they just needed to hit Dogmatica or something. This is pretty exciting though. I think this helps for like people playing these more like kind of control variants of decks. We might see a return of like the invoked Dogmatica Shaddoll DPE thing now that these 2 cards are around again. And this helps a lot with that new fusion monster that came out in Power of the Elements. You know, the one that like draws when you send it to grave. Could be really useful when the Deer Servant kind of turns into a Pot of Greed. So I'd like to see maybe more decks get some use out of that. Trickstar Light Stage, this one feels super dated and it's kind of about time. I know the Trickstars are like kind of an engine that you can summon monsters with, and Konami might be apprehensive about that. But this thing just feels like it served its time. And then Wall of Revealing Light, this is one of those like gimmicky cards. It used to, there were like, combos to like that you could use this to like draw with your opponent or whatever. I don't think any of it really matters. There's a far more egregious card for stalling that exists right now, and it's not Wall of Revealing Light. So I'm okay with this being gone. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or really, there's like a couple, but I think the big elephant in the room is Mystic Mine. And Konami chose not to hit this card. I think that at this point, we have to all accept as a community that Konami does not think Mystic Mine is a problem. I think that they are simply okay with this. Konami's R&D department, whatever the hell it is that goes on in that office, they have decided that Mystic Mine is not a problem. They have not hit it ever, and this does not seem like they really have any plans of doing so. So, whether or not you agree with that decision, because I think it's kind of annoying too, but whether or not you agree with that decision, it's time that you just have to start acknowledging Mystic Mine. You have to start main decking out some removal, ways to play around it, whatever, because if you don't, you're just going to lose the card. I think that it was nice to sort of beg Konami to like ban it, and there was a lot of social media uproar, but it clearly seems like Konami is sticking to their guns on this one. They're digging their heels in. I don't like it. I don't like Mystic Mine, but the time for complaining is over. You have 2 choices. Play it, or play ways to beat it, or I guess the third choice is just, I don't know, stop playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something. But yeah, so it sucks, but that's the case. And then another card is Artifact Scythe, which I thought might, need to get hit, but maybe they feel like it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of fallen out of favor recently, and I guess the hits to pile decks means that like maybe Scythe will be ever so slightly less played. I don't know. That one's a little more up in the air. I think though that they did a pretty good job with this. There's this one like weird observation I had about this list, and that's that it feels a little bit dated. Like it feels like it's kind of solving problems from like 3-ish months ago. And also, it doesn't really change like any archetypes, so it doesn't feel exciting in a way. Like, it's not the same as like let's say they limited branded fusion. I'm not saying they should, but like let's say they did that, right? Or let's say that they like, hit Sorto Moye, right? Like 3 months ago, those would have been seen as like interesting hits. Maybe the equivalent today would be like, oh, let's, limit Sprite Blue or, something like that. I don't know, ban Sprite Elf, hit some tier card. I'm not saying those are like good or bad hits, but just that like it's more interesting for Banlist, I think, when like archetypes are shifted around more, like archetypes get stronger or weaker. This Banlist feels a little bit more just like a lot of staple combo part type cards just getting shifted around. So like there's some neat stuff to play around with. Like I think people will probably have a little bit of fun with like Spellbook of Judgment and maybe, try to see what they can do with these tuner cards. Ben 10 being back is cool, and like some of this being back is cool, but it feels like a bit of a dull ban list, sort of masquerading as an exciting one because there are a lot of cards that got hit, but I guess it just doesn't feel like to the average player that this might actually change that much with how you play the game. I'm interested in hearing what you guys think about it though. There's so much to be said. I know a lot of people seem just disappointed, at least that's the initial reaction I've kind of gotten from Twitter and like other social places. It like for me, this list is like a 6. It just feels like it does its job, I suppose. There's more exciting things that could have happened here, and it feels a little dated, and we still don't actually get to know why they hit anything, and I think that's insane to me that we also don't get to know when the next list will come out. But I'm not going to rant today. I'm just going to leave it all to you. Let me know in the comments what you think of this list. Was it good? Was it bad? Do you just not really care? What do you want to see change with these lists? Like, I don't know, concrete release dates and patch notes. All right, it's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a happy format. Pass turn.